As anti-ICE demonstrations cross state lines, growing into a nationwide movement, we looked into how and if these rallies can actually create change. News 3's George Acosta spoke with an expert on human behavior and social movements, and he joins us now live in studio with more on that. George?
Yeah, Marie, UNLV sociology professor Dr. Robert Futrell tells me protests do bring change. However, what kind of change and how long before we see that change is relative.
It certainly can help to galvanize a population who doesn't feel that their voices or positions are being heard or represented, especially by various government entities at various levels.
With more than 2.5 decades of expertise on the study of human behavior and social movements, Dr. Futrell says once a movement forms, oftentimes in cases where he says are from people who are relatively resource poor, the conversation the demonstrations can spark can oftentimes turn a small crowd into a nationwide movement, similar to what is playing out in real time across the country.
It certainly has effects, a demonstration effect, if you will, of showing others that there are people out there like them who feel the same ways, who are willing to put in some cases, their lives on the line to make a statement about what they think is unfair, inequitable, and unjust.
And with that demonstration effect, Dr. Futrell says that the amount of people who will collectively gather whenever protesting, rallying, or demonstrating for a cause can enhance the way it may directly impact or bring societal change.
Our history has shown only when you have mass mobilization are you really going to have something close to the kind of change that's needed for ameliorating the problem that they're seeing with the immigration raids and the injustices that are connected to that, according to the protesters.
No justice! No peace!
And when push comes to shove, when tensions escalate during these movements, Dr. Futrell says pointing the finger as to who's to blame may not be so easy to differentiate.
For those who are not supportive of the protesters, the violence can seem justified, and the resistance can seem futile. The question is, who wins the game of the symbolism, of the arguments about injustice? And it's hard to keep up when you have the power of the state going against people who are relatively resource poor and facing the kind of violence that can be wielded by a military.
Overall, Dr. Futrell says that when it comes to these movements, they do bring about change, however, says it is not necessarily an immediate action.
If you're thinking about policy change, typically that's a long-term outcome, and cultural change is even a longer-term outcome often.
Now, Dr. Futrell says it's also not easy to determine how long these demonstrations could last, saying it could be a matter of things such as when resistance backs down or potentially when violence escalates and leaders push back. But for now, reporting at the live desk, George Acosta, News 3.
All right, George, thank you for that insight. There'll be a lot to watch out for in the coming days at the very least. Well, Governor